pretty dramatic way to start a piece. That, of course, is Franz Liszt. And it was Liszt's birthday. He was born in 1811, so I guess he's 204 years old last Friday. So 2 days ago. So I thought I would do a little Liszt because I think this is a very evil, Halloweenish sounding piece. Now it has a main theme that is even kind of more kind of mysterious and kind of Tim Burton-ish. Yes, the sirens are participating too. It's already working its black magic somewhere. And it continues like that. It's interesting, this piece was not written for Halloween, but it is called Funeraria. It's from Harmonie Poétique et Religieuse et Poétique. And it's, Liszt, of course, you know, is one of the most virtuosic pianists of all time. It's said that he practiced while reading the paper. He could read the paper and practice his technique at the same time. Also said that when he taught in later years, in his older age, he became a great teacher in Europe, and people from all over the world came to study with him. And it was said that a person could come in and play their own composition, which he certainly had not heard. And after hearing it once through, he would sit at the piano and play sections of it back perfectly and make suggestions about how it could be better. This is incredible talent. I mean, to be able to hear something once and go and play it, the most complicated things he could play right off. In fact, it's said with Liszt that the best time he ever played anybody else's music was the first time, because that would give him enough to do, to read the music, what was there. The second time, he was full of embellishments, and he would add octaves and add arpeggios and add, chromatic scales and all kinds of flourishes, because he was quite a show-off. In fact, Franz Liszt was, in the 1800s, what Mick Jagger was in the 60s and 70s. He was a rock star. Women would throw their hotel keys onto the stage. He had a big shock of hair, and he was wonderfully sexy and dramatic, and quite a virtuoso, an incredible virtuoso. In the time before records and everything, it's not surprising that he was quite a star. But interesting enough, I mean, the gypsy part of him was that he was Hungarian and had that kind of fervor in his soul. The tramp part was that he liked to embellish things to the max, to add so much to them that sometimes it almost swamped the piece and overwhelmed him. And in fact, his greatest critics at the time thought that he was kind of shallow in a way. They would sometimes accuse, and I don't think that's true, but they would accuse him of shallowness just because he plays so much fire and so many fast things that it sounded like a lot of filigree sometimes. But it's much more than that. I mean, you listen to something like the Liszt Sonata, and there's some real great writing here. And of course, the thief part is that he stole from others quite a lot. But in great ways, he did a lot of transcriptions of other people's music for the piano. And I'm going to get to another transcription. I want to see if I can make this work. I haven't done this here before. We're going to give it a try, exactly. Because one of the pieces that I have played for a long time just by ear, because when I was a student at Indiana University, I went to a Halloween concert, and there was an organist playing live to a film. A guy, Dick James. He became quite a famous concert organist around the country. And he played an amazing version of Danse Macabre, a piece I happen to like. Now, Danse Macabre, of course, how many have heard Danse Macabre? How many heard it in school? Anybody in grade school? Because when I was in grade school, they played it and they used it for a way to get our musical imaginations going because it has a program. It's a programmatic music. It has a story. It takes place on All Souls Evening, which is Halloween. It takes place on that night, and it's the night all the souls come up and get to come out and free themselves from their graves and wander around and frolic and dance. And he starts it out with the clock striking 12. And then there's this interest by the violin. With the violin, the first violinist doesn't get to play the whole piece because he has to detune this top string down to this note because he can't do it. So he can't play too much in the upper with the rest of the violins, but he has lots of low, luscious solos and other things that it's been accommodated. But he doesn't play the whole piece. He plays solos throughout the piece. And this sound is called the devil's interval, the tritone. It's very unstable and thought to be very, very kind of dramatic, over-dramatic, and when exposed like that, and kind of evil, kind of devilish. And this figure, like the devil, playing his violin. So what happens is that the dance gets swept up and through the night, and the skeletons and the ghouls and the zombies, I suppose, nowadays, get all wrapped up and they get danced, and at the end, there's suddenly the cock crowing because the sun is coming up, and they cower in fear and go back to their graves, and there's one last little sad, sad song for their loss of going back for the year. And they all disappear. So I want you to hear a little bit of what the orchestration sounds like. I hope I can make this work. This is the first time I'm trying this technically, but let's see if we can make this work. This is what the orchestration sounds like. First I put my volume up. There we go. This piece is very dramatic, and the orchestration is very, very special. And the orchestration gives the piece so much color, but Liz did a transcription of this piece. Now, you just heard the beginning. I have to get back to the, excuse me for a moment while I get back to the YouTube, what I'm looking for. Just a moment, come on, give me that, there we go. Uh-huh. Getting there, sorry. There we go. All right, so this is the Liszt transcription of Danse Macabre, and you're going to hear some strange differences. We talked about transcription. This is more of an arrangement. When you get this far afield from the original, we're talking arrangement. Such high drama. His name is, I have a hard time pronouncing this, Basilis Barbaresos. Basilis Barbaresos.
This would have been proud.
And anyway, he's on YouTube, you can find it. But what I wanted to talk about was that I used to play this piece by ear all the time, especially around Halloween, because I kind of like just loved the piece. And then I thought, well, nowadays, just like you can go to music notes or sheetmusic.com, there are all kinds of classical sites or things in the public domain you can just take out and print. So I would always play this, and there are certain kind of harmonic transitions that in my ear, I played it by ear, I never had looked at the score, and there were certain harmonic transitions that just weren't quite in my ear, so it was interesting to see the score. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and this is not very practiced, I really just kind of did this today, but what I'm going to do is kind of play a combination of Kramer's version, which is much truer to the score, although he omits certain passages that he thought weren't wild, maybe weren't wild. He truncates some things. But it's a much simpler arrangement than the Liszt. But I'm going to kind of juice it up a little with some of my own things that I've done in the past. So I'm going to play through Danse Macabre. Here we go.